Welcome back to Circle of Life. You are now entering the beginning of level 2, which we'll call Creature Power. In this level, you will learn how plants and animals have secret weapons that allow them to survive in their environment. They inherit these secret weapons or adaptations from their parents. These creature powers give them the ability to respond to change in their environment. Let's review our key point for this entire quest. Living things interact with their environment in order to meet their needs and survive. To do so, every organism inherits characteristics from its parents that allow it to adapt and change to meet its needs. Organisms that do not inherit useful adaptations that give them an advantage will not survive, as it competes with other organisms for resources. We find organisms living together and using their adaptations and instincts in ecosystems around the world. Producers, consumers, and decomposers play an important role in creating a diverse and balanced ecosystem. As we look at our key point, hopefully some things are starting to become evident to you about what do living things need in order for them to survive. And that will be hopefully more clear as we move on in this mission, which is on adaptations. Our mission objective is to describe how organisms inherit characteristics that allow them to adapt to survive in their environments. Our challenges, please make sure you are ready to answer these, are: what are the two types of adaptations? Why must adaptations be useful? What is an example of an animal adaptation and how does it help that animal survive? So there are two questions in that one challenge. And what is an example of a plant adaptation and how does it help that plant survive? So you'll need to make sure you have those both answered. All right, let's get started. Remember that animals and plants inherit characteristics from their parents. These characteristics help them survive in their environment. If they did not have these characteristics, they would not survive in their environment. So these characteristics are very important for offspring to inherit from their parents, and it's very important that parents pass them down. If they don't get passed down, their offspring will probably not survive in that environment. Scientists call these inherited characteristics adaptations. Organisms with useful adaptations are more likely to survive in their environment than organisms without useful adaptations. What are useful adaptations? Well, useful adaptations give organisms a better chance of getting the resources they need to survive. That's very important. You don't want to give somebody an adaptation that won't help them survive in their environment. So it's important that these adaptations are useful for them to use in their own environment. Because the better an organism is at getting what it needs, the better chance it has of surviving and then reproducing. And by surviving, then they are able to pass on these characteristics and adaptations to their offspring. So as a parent reproduces and produces offspring, they want to pass those useful adaptations on to their offspring. And so then when those offspring have grown up and they have their own kids and their own offspring, they can pass on those useful adaptations to them as well. So to generation. Organisms living in different ecosystems usually have different adaptations. So the same animal in one ecosystem might have different adaptations than the same animal in a different ecosystem. An organism that is already adapted to one ecosystem may not survive in another ecosystem, meaning if we take an animal or a plant or any living thing out of one ecosystem and put them into another ecosystem, they might not survive because they don't have the adaptations to survive. There are two types of adaptations. A physical adaptation is a feature on an organism that allows it to survive in its natural environment. And behavioral adaptations are the actions or responses of organisms that allow it to survive in its natural environment. Physical adaptation is like something that we can see on their actual body, and a behavior adaptation is something that they do. Let's learn a little bit about animal adaptations. Please give this video your full attention as it's going through. It's going to talk about adaptations of animals.
The word adaptation sounds complex, but it's easy enough to understand. Basically, when scientists talk about how this buffalo or these crabs are well adapted, what they're talking about, what's really important, is survival. All of our many animal neighbors Beauty feisty parrots in the steaming jungle, fish in the ocean deep, or mighty polar bears in the freezing Arctic, or any other critter, are faced with the challenge of surviving. To do that, to survive, all animals need certain basics, such as food, water, a climate they can live in, and a place to raise their young. And over the millions of years they've been around, animals have developed many specialized characteristics that help them to meet these and their other needs. Scientists call these specialized characteristics or features adaptations, and it's largely due to them that animals can survive just about anywhere on planet Earth. Take, for example, these fine fellows I found sunning themselves in their wetland home. These turtles live in a watery world, and several important adaptations help them to survive in it. Look, for example, at this little guy's back feet. Paddle-shaped and with skin between the toes, such feet are an adaptation that helps our friend to scoot through the water with the greatest of ease. And notice how both this turtle's eyes and his nostrils are located at the top of his head. This arrangement is an adaptation that lets turtles both breathe and see what's going on while keeping most of their bodies safely underwater and out of sight. And that's a very good thing to do when you have neighbors, such as this hungry old gator, set on making a meal out of you.
So let's unpack that a little bit about animal adaptations. Remember that physical adaptations can help animals eat and protect themselves. Animals use physical adaptations like beaks, teeth, and claws to hunt for food. There you see a bald eagle with its beak, its sharp beak, and it will have claws too, and it helps it hunt for food. Stingers, quills, shells, smelly sprays, being bitter tasting, and bright colors can be used by animals for protection against predators. You see a porcupine. Its quills will give it protection from predators. A predator's not going to be very excited to go and try to eat that porcupine because it's going to get quills all over itself as it's eating that porcupine. So that's an adaptation that allows animals to protect itself. Animals can also use camouflage to hide from predators or wings to fly away from predators. There you see a moth that we learned about in level 1. It's using camouflage to help hide from predators. So physical adaptations help animals eat and also protect themselves. Behavioral adaptations help animals survive and reproduce. Hibernation is a behavioral adaptation that helps some animals like bears, chipmunks, and marmots survive low temperatures. Some animals have behavioral adaptations that are used to attract a mate, like male rams fighting each other to impress and attract a mate. The one that wins is the more likely to attract a mate and then be able to reproduce. Behavioral adaptations are a result of animals' instincts. So all these behavioral adaptations are a result of animals' instincts, just what they already have in them. It kind of starts happening right away. I want you to turn to page 235 in your science textbook and complete the task described on that page before moving on to the rest of this mission. So please pause the video now and go complete that task. If you have questions about what to do, please raise your hand and let me know. Let's talk about plant adaptations. Plant adaptations have physical adaptations that protect it, or plants have physical adaptations that protect it from being eaten. Thorns and harmful oils are an example of plant adaptations that are used for protection. A rose has thorns to protect it from being eaten by animals or even being cut down on by a human. We're going to be much less likely to cut that down if it has thorns, or just walking over it by an animal. You don't want to get pricked on or pricked with or stepping on a thorn. That would not be very fun. Other physical adaptations allow plants to survive in extreme conditions. Cacti have needle-like spines that help keep water because they reflect sunlight and keep the plant cool. Also, the roots of trees can be large or small depending on their environment. This is the end of mission 1 of level 2. Please make sure you have your challenge questions ready to answer. You have your notes filled out. And if you have any questions, please let me know. If not, I will see you in mission 2 of level 2.